Hello everyone and good morning. Happy Tuesday. How are you doing today? Enjoying the day, I hope, leading up to Thanksgiving. We're almost there. I can't believe it's next week. So tell me, I want to hear something that you are making for Thanksgiving. Or maybe you're not making anything. Maybe you're bringing something that someone else made to Thanksgiving dinner. I always love to hear everybody's family traditions, and if it's a side dish, then even better, because I think that's what we're doing this year for Thanksgiving. So we don't have any family plans with Thanksgiving besides just, our immediate family. So I'm going to cook, and I don't make turkey. So I will be cooking all the side dishes, and I don't think I'm going to hear any complaints because the turkey, at least in our family, is the thing that gets eaten last. Everybody fills up their plate with all the side dishes, and then maybe if there's room for turkey, we do turkey. So tell me your favorite side dish or what side dish you're responsible for bringing to Thanksgiving. I would love to hear. You might also notice that the ambiance behind me is a little bit different today. This is not my new setup quite yet, but we are officially out of all of our leased spaces and into our new building, but we're still getting settled. Hopefully, crossing my fingers, everybody cross your fingers for me, that the last piece of the kind of backdrop for my live videos is supposed to get here on Friday. And then we have to do all of our zhuzhing and make it look pretty. And then hopefully by next week, Tuesday, we will be in the new spot. So I am in the new building right now. I'm just not in my normal backdrop. So this is kind of my crafting area where I do my projects, and I just put up a few things and tried to make it look nice for today. So thanks for bearing with me as we get kind of the last few details ironed out in the new building. And I am super excited about feeling a little bit more settled and just being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It has been a month for sure, but we are feeling so grateful. We had our grand opening this past weekend in the studio retail space. We saw hundreds of people. There were at least 100 people waiting in line when we opened the doors, because we did the first 100 people in the door got a special goodie bag, and those goodie bags were gone as soon as we opened the doors. So it was really fun on Saturday to see that. To just see that expression of our time and energy and be able to share in that excitement with our local customers and even some not so local customers. We had people drive in from Wisconsin and Illinois and Nebraska. I know those were a few that I heard, but there might have been more states represented. So looks like everybody's telling me their favorites. Stuffing and mashed potatoes. If you have a recipe that you want to share, I would love it. Corn casserole, Robin, that is the thing that my kids always request. We call ours scalloped corn. I'm not sure, corn casserole is probably easier to understand, but that's what my mom always said. So, Virginia does homemade lasagna instead of turkey. I like that idea. Real mashed potatoes, that's awesome. Green bean casserole, yes. Yum. Stuffing. My mother-in-law makes the best homemade stuffing. My version of stuffing is Stouffer's in a box. So I might try, though. She did give me her recipe, so I might try that this year. Or I'll just wait till Sunday when we get together with my in-laws, and then we'll enjoy her special stuffing. So all right, well, let's talk about a few other things before we get to crafting. So we are going to craft today. It's actually the very first snow of the season here in Iowa, at least the first measurable snow. We woke up this morning, and the wonderful thing about this snow is that there's no wind to go with it. So when you live in Iowa, you get used to windy days, and the snow just all blows around, and you don't want to be outside at all. But today the snow just fell very calmly and quietly from the sky, and it's sitting and resting on the trees. And so there's about, I don't know, a couple inches of snow on the tree branches, and it just looks so pretty and serene outside. So usually I don't celebrate the first snow of the season. Usually I want to pull the covers back over my head and pretend that it's not happening. But today we're going to celebrate the first snow of the season, and I'm going to create a little craft with you guys that features snowflakes. So I'm excited about that. But before we get there, I want to tell you about some of the things we have happening. So raise your hand or send up some hearts if you have seen Season of Crafting. Have you seen Tailored Expressions Season of Crafting or heard about it so far? Maybe you got it in your email just today, or hopefully you saw it ahead of time, because we have been sharing about the Season of Crafting for a few weeks now just to get you guys prepared. So this is our lead up to Black Friday. This is not Black Friday specials. We will have other things happening on Black Friday that are super exciting, and I will tell you about another time. But today I want to focus on Season of Crafting. So hopefully you have heard about this and seen what Season of Crafting is. If you have not, then let this be your first announcement of Season of Crafting. So every day leading up to Thanksgiving, we have a different portion of the Tailored Expressions store on sale. So a different category of items. Today's sale, let me put up some graphics so you guys can see what we have in store for you today and up until next week, Wednesday the 23rd. So today we are starting off with 30% off all TE brand inks. So that includes full-size ink pads, mini ink pads, refills, and we have restocked our I Want It All bundles in all three categories. So we have I Want It All full-size, mini, and refill. All of those are 30% off. That's today only. So then the sale ends tonight at 11:59, and a new sale begins tomorrow at 9 a.m. So the next day's sale, you can see the calendar on the right, shows you that tomorrow we have 30% off standalone dies. So standalone means anything that doesn't coordinate with a stamp or a stencil or that kind of thing. So just a die that stands by itself. Then you can follow along the calendar and check out the rest of the sales that are happening through next week, Wednesday. You'll want to get on at 9 o'clock, as that's when the sale launches. And of course, everything is while supplies last with no rain checks. And then I also wanted to point out that you will get an additional 10% off orders of $150 or more during this entire period. And the only way you get that extra 10% off is if you are logged into your TE account. So it is automatically applied once you hit that $150 level, but you need to be logged in. So if you think you should be getting that and you're not seeing it, then either contact our customer service. Amy is standing by at support@tailoredexpressions.com, or of course you can chat or make sure you're logged into your account. That's the first step. Make sure you're logged into your account. Okay, now let's get you guys a little bit more information. If you're looking for that graphic with the calendar on it and you want to reference that, you can go to the Tailored Expressions website, just the home page at tailoredexpressions.com. Up at the top, there's that navigation bar, and you will see Connect with Us. So if you click down on Connect with Us, one of the options will be Season of Crafting 2022. So check that out if you want to see the calendar of each of the day's sales that are happening leading up to Black Friday. And then I will be announcing Black Friday specials starting next week, Tuesday. But we are doing something similar to what we did last year, which included doorbuster bundles each day, which would be Thursday night, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday mornings. So we have some really fun things planned, some exclusive items that you can only get as part of these doorbusters. So yeah, that's what's happening. It's the happiest season of the year, right? Okay, looks like everybody's chiming in, and Candy says already ordered. Awesome. Okay, yes, can I go over the time again? So maybe I didn't say this quite right, but I do know that the new deals go live at 9 a.m. each day. So we start the day at 9 a.m. with a new deal, and then the deal goes until, I guess it's 8:59 a.m. the next day before the new sale starts at 9 a.m. So it's basically 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. each day, but that new sale will start 9 a.m. and the old sale will end 8:59 a.m. the day before. Does that make sense? Okay. Awesome. Everybody is filling in your missing ink colors. Jean's asking if the quads are included as layering stencils. They are. And some of those details are on that calendar too. So Charlie has done a great job putting that calendar together that kind of details out for you what are the items that are kind of considered part of that category. So make sure you check that out. All right, sounds good. Should we get to crafting today? We have lots of time to craft. I have lots of time to craft with you guys, and I came up with, like I said, a project that features snowflakes, and I'm super excited to do a little blending and a little embellishing and kind of welcome in the season of winter. Even though it's not my favorite season, I do love a beautiful snowflake. So here we go. Let's get down to the camera. You guys keep filling me in on your favorite holiday foods to eat and recipes if you have them. So one of my favorite things to make is sweet potato pie or sweet potato casserole, or one year someone many years ago gave me a recipe called sweet potato buckle. I actually have not had a chance to try it, so maybe this will be the year for me to try that. All right, so here is my paper, and here's what we're going to be using with the snowflakes. Let me grab these. It's a stencil because I love stencils. And this is our Create in Quads snowflake stencil. So we released this last year in December, and I just think it's beautiful for all winter long. So if you have winter birthdays to celebrate, or you want to say thanks snow much in the winter, or just send some warm wishes, this is a perfect way to do it. Or you can send somebody a card to just let them know you're stinking cold and you hate this season and you hope the snow goes away soon. Okay, so my stencils are not in order, so give me just a second here to figure out. Down here in the bottom corner is where you will see the stencil item number that is etched with a -1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm gonna find -1, 2, this is 3, and then 4. I have lots of options for embellishing and just extra little add-ons that you can do with this particular stencil that make those snowflakes stand out. But first we have to blend. And I know this is probably, you guys are thinking, is this Heather? No, it's not Heather today, it's Taylor. But I did want to use toffee cardstock. And the reason why I decided on toffee is actually because we're going to use a paste on that final layer of the stencil, and it just pops so much more off of the toffee cardstock than any other, than the white cardstock that I would probably normally choose. Okay, so I'm gonna take my Create in Quads cardstock, and it is already pre-cut for me. So if you haven't purchased the pre-cut cardstock from TE, we have it already cut to fit your quad stencil at 8 by 10.5. If you're using an 8.5 by 11 sheet, I recommend cutting it down first so that when you're finished blending, you can simply make 2 cuts, one that way and one the horizontal way, and then you have your 4 panels. So I'm lining it up behind those etched guidelines. The first stencil that you line up is the most important, so give it some extra attention as you get that into place. Now I'm going to take a little bit of tape and just place that stencil down onto my paper. I'll do one more check just to make sure. I think I've got it perfectly in line there. And now I'm going to add adhesive to the back of the stencil. I want this to stay in place with each subsequent layer of the stencil. I want my cardstock to remain in the same place. So when we lift up the stencil, my cardstock is stuck down to my placemat and it won't move anywhere. Somebody just mentioned I need to clean my brushes badly. Yes, Bonnie, if you need to clean your brushes, get yourself some nice, I guess, not too abrasive soap, just a nice dish detergent and do that. Or you could come for our 30% off blender brush sale and you could just get yourself a new set of brushes. Just another option thought I'd throw out there because we do have that blender brush sale coming up as part of the season of crafting. So what I'm doing here is filling in the alignment squares with a pen so that when we go to place those next layers down, we can get the alignment just perfect. Now my first layer, we're gonna do various blues today. So my first layer is gonna be blue raspberry with a little bit of poblano pepper. I'll get my ink stand out and put it on my right side because I'm right-handed. And we'll blend across this. Oh my goodness, Carla, North Dakota got 24 inches of snow last week Thursday. I'm sorry for that. That sounds rough. I don't even really love 2 inches of snow, and you are right, that snow is definitely here to stay. It's always the first big snow that you know that it's not going away. I still feel like we have hope around here that our snow may not stick around. I'm gonna put another extra piece of paper at the top here so I don't get blended off onto my butcher block table. Sweet and sour red cabbage, Julianne says, from a jar. Interesting. I have never had sweet and sour cabbage. Okay. Linda says you're using the Create & Quads to make thank you cards for work. Do they have a snow theme or are you using a different quad? So many options, and the thing that I love about these is I don't have to get bored making the same card. I'm not a great mass producer when it comes to, you know, exact reproduction of the same card. So this gives me some variety and I can kind of play with the layouts and the extra products that I put over the top. We released the most adorable little penguins with our holiday release at the end of September, and those would be really cute with these snowflakes too. I'm not going to be using those today, but you easily could. Okay, first layer almost done. I'm going to add a little bit of poblano pepper into the centers of these snowflakes just to give it some added dimension. So poblano is a shade darker than the blue raspberry. So we'll hit the bases of these large snowflake pieces, kind of at the bottom of each of the pokey out parts. I don't have the right words for those spokes of the snowflake. Now I'm only choosing to do this on the larger of the snowflakes because if you try to add dimension to the smallest snowflakes, really all you end up doing is covering it with a darker shade of ink. And I still want to be able to see that I used blue raspberry, not covering it all up with the poblano. All right. Ooh, Farley's lucky. She says the ink order has already shipped today, that is surprising. You must have been right on it because I took a look at the orders in queue. before I came on the live. And that is one thing that I should mention about Black Friday and Season of Crafting, is that you guys are probably going to have a little more patience with our shipping than your usual turnaround that happens same day or even next day. Especially after Black Friday, we'll all be enjoying Thanksgiving weekend with our families, and so we will be coming into a mountain of orders on the Monday after Thanksgiving. But we do a pretty good job, I must say, of getting through them very quickly and getting your goodies out to you. All right, so we've got Spearmint is going to be the next color. This is layer 2 of the stencil. I think we talked about Spearmint during the Stamp Joy class that I taught with Heather. And it's just one of those colors that goes, it's sort of a little bit more muted, but it goes with so many combos and kind of adds that unusual touch. Getting there. I know many of you have heard this about 800 times, but I'm going to say it again because what is the old adage that it takes you 7 times of hearing something before it sinks in? So you'll notice when I'm blending that I'm going in both directions, clockwise and counterclockwise. And that's so that the ink hits both edges of my stencil with the same consistency. So you don't end up with one edge that's really dark, and unless that's what you want. I mean, if you want that look, then definitely go for one directional blending. But I always mention that because I think when you're watching the videos, it's not always a noticeable thing that I'm traveling in a couple different directions. All right, I think we're done with this one. I'm gonna peel it up and kind of peek. Looking good so far, so we'll take that layer off. Mindy, how's the new studio working out? So, yet to be seen. I am in my new craft space, and right now, I'm sure those of you that have moved, maybe I should have taken like moving advice, but I just don't think there's a great way to move in a fast fashion, because we had to be out of one space and functional in the next space within like a 2 or 3 day time. And so I would say that we are functional in our new studio, but it's not quite there yet. You know, we got to get organized, make sure that all the things we brought with us are things that we want to stay. And we're still missing a couple of furniture pieces, so we'll get there. So those of you who move a lot, how long do you think it takes to get settled in a new space, or potentially settled in a new craft room? Like, oh, I used to keep this over here, but now I had to move that to this spot. I feel like that's a lot of what I'm dealing with now too. Whitney is doing an awesome job helping to keep track of all the things, but it seems like there's always something like, oh, well, my Embelly Jelly used to be here, but now it's here. Or, where are my paintbrushes? I was going to splatter today, and then actually we couldn't find my paintbrushes. So I was like, well, we'll do some other embellishing. Heather would be appalled that there's no splatter on these cards, but yes, we had to skip it because I think my paintbrushes are still buried somewhere. All right, so this last layer, in case you missed that, it was blueberry on, I guess it's not technically the last layer. This is layer 3, but this is the last layer of blended color. And then we're gonna come in with layer number 4, and I am going to do the fresh snow paste. So I have used this so many times. I continued to use it even when it was out of stock, but it is now back in stock. So perfect time to get it in your cart. All right, so I think I have those lined up with my alignment squares. And I'm going to take that paste with my Nuvo Media spatula. So this is the fresh snow paste. This is an opaque paste, so it will dry white and you won't be able to see through it. So a lot of other pastes dry clear. In particular, our glitter grab will dry clear, but I love this because it dries white and on top of a colored cardstock really stands out nicely. And then because it dries white, when you put your sugar cube glitter over it, the whiteness of the paste really helps that to stand out. So if you were to put sugar cube over clear paste, clear drying paste, it would look a little bit different than it does with an opaque white paste. So I'm going to take a little bit of that, take a dollop. I always think of that commercial, a dollop of Daisy, when I'm taking out the paste from the container. I mean, it does kind of look like sour cream. It's a little gross to think about wiping sour cream on your card, but okay, so I like to travel in one direction when I do my paste. I'm going from top to bottom and just pulling down gently across the stencil to fill in those small areas. I always tell people we don't want to frost a cake when we're doing this. That just gives more opportunity for that paste to get underneath the stencil where you don't want it. If you have a lot of trouble with getting your paste kind of underneath the stencil where you don't want them, you could also try pixie spray. However, I would caution against that if you plan to use, like I will be covering this with sugar cube glitter. So if that's a plan for you, then you probably want to avoid pixie spray because it's going to get that little bit of residue on your cardstock, and then your glitter is going to stick everywhere and not just in the area where you want it to. I think Whitney's checking back on me because she's wondering if I'm done pasting yet. Once you're done pasting, you want to get your stencil into some water fairly quickly because this will dry onto the stencil, and if it dries completely, it is a bear to get off. So just a little word of warning there. I have a stencil washer who will do this for me, but you might need to take a slight break after layer number 4 and go wash your stencil. Almost there. Okay. I think I have pasted appropriately. Now, one other thing you can do with the nice flat edge of this, you could take your brush or your media spatula and kind of scrape down and see how much excess paste that I got off of there. You do just need to be careful not to scrape too hard because you can basically dig the paste out of the holes where you want it to stay. But I've got some good excess on here that I can save for my next project. So one of the things with my studio so far is I don't have a door yet. The glass for my door is not arrived, and so the clicking noises that you hear are people coming in the door downstairs because I don't have a door to block the sound. Okay. Now the other thing that I didn't mention when I took the lid off, but this little piece, this little disc that comes with our paste, you want to make sure to save that because that's going to keep your paste nice and fresh every time you use it. So just a barrier for any kind of air that would get inside there. All right, so we're finished there. Let's pull up the stencil and see what that looks like. Hooray, Whitney's here to take it straight from me. Thank you. There's my little knife too.
Perfect.
Okay. Doesn't that look so pretty, so bright and white? We got a little bit of a teal vibe going on with the snowflakes with some blueberry mixed in. Get it off of my placemat now so you can see how that looks. So pretty. Okay, now I'm going to grab this. And we're going to take that sugar cube glitter that I talked about. I've got a little piece of scrap paper that I've kind of been using here. And we're going to pour this over the top. There's one panel. You can see hopefully that glitter's catching the light there. You can see it's stuck a little bit on my blended areas here, so I've got kind of just an all over glisten of glitter. But once this dries, you can use just a cloth, like I use my microfiber cloth, or you can use a Swiffer if you have a dryer sheet or a Swiffer wipe, something to get that excess glitter off. But it will stay on the parts that are wet, which are those little white dots that we pasted with the fresh snow. Almost there. I might have to put my glitter back into my container before I can pour the last one.
Oh, it looks so pretty.
Doesn't it look pretty?
I love it.
So I didn't really think about this earlier, but I think I'm gonna have to just try to cut this. I don't have time to wait for it to dry since y'all are here now. And you don't wanna wait 10 minutes for this paste to dry. Actually, it might be more like 15 or 20 minutes to get it completely dry. So I'm gonna try my best to cut this without bungling. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Do I have a guillotine cutter?
Yes.
I think that's gonna work better.
Okay.
Because once I take that flap of the other cutter, it's going to mush my paste.
Does this part come off?
And now, nope, that stays on. Nope. All right, I gotta grab my glitter back. Marilyn Monroe bot is gonna get a workout here because I spilled a little bit of excess glitter on my tabletop. Here she is. Charlie drew her hair and her eyelashes, and Jill Hawkins found appropriate googly eyes for her. And her nose is the on-off switch. She makes me happy. Okay. Yes, Melinda was asking about the ink colors. It was blue raspberry with a little bit of poblano. So that's this color, blue raspberry with the darker poblano. And then this is spearmint. And then the dark blue was blueberry. All right, we're gonna try this now. Oh, you know, that's why you were asking me that. Does it come off? I bet it does. Let's try it.
Pull it from the top.
There we go. So it has this little guard on there, I think so you don't cut your fingers off, but also so it holds your paper down. But that would definitely be messing and mushing my paste. So here we go. We're gonna go this direction first.
You can do it.
Can she do it? Can she successfully cut this while wet? I would not recommend this. Just let it dry if you have the time. So we want 5 1/4 this direction. Okay, I'm gonna hold it down here and here. I'm gonna take my fingers out because we don't need me cutting off my finger during today's live.
Let's not do
Sound
that.
good? Okay, and we're gonna go. Woo! I did one.
Nice.
I love that I had to tell myself to move my finger out of the way. I can just picture that. Can't you just picture that? Like, okay, we're leaving now. Taylor needs to go to the emergency room.
Oh no.
She has cut her finger off while everyone watched. All right, we did 2 of them successfully. Now, let's get this last one here. I knew there was a reason I had 18 different paper trimmers. There's always one that can do whatever you need it to do in the moment. All right. There we go. There's our 4 panels all finished. Pretty, pretty. Candy, you broke your guard. Yes, you're on Team Wing It. I like that team. That's my team. Okay, so now what do we do with these lovely panels? Well, we have a lot of options. So one of my favorite things to do with these panels is place our A2 thin frame cutting plates on here. I'm not going to do that with this particular set, but I wanted to mention those because you'll see that a lot of our design team often use those. It's a very thin frame that goes around the outside, and you can get progressively smaller as well, or you can go all the way around the outside edge as well. So those are a great option. Another thing that I love to do is add little details. And you can do that a lot of different ways. I'm going to show you just a couple of ways that you can add detail to these panels if you want. Now this could be finished and it could just be beautiful the way that it is. But if you like to add a few little extras here and there, I like to call them, because if Jamie's here, which she is, I saw her leaving comments, more is more. So why not add a little bit more? Okay, so this is B37 Copic marker, and I'm gonna add just a little swash to the centers of these darkest snowflakes. Now normally I would probably take my paper and I would be turning it, but this is still wet, so I'm still fighting the fact that I didn't have time to let this paste dry completely. So just keep that in mind. So this is more of a subtle texture when you do a tone on tone like I'm doing. It's kind of hard to see in there, it'll pick it up a little bit more. But in person, it looks really just subtle. It's not too in your face with this particular tone on tone effect. If you wanted it to be a little bit more apparent that you had added something, then you will like my next option, which we have all learned a lot about from our friend Kavya. She kind of has coined the gel pen dots and dashes. And I think this is a really fun pattern to get to experiment with lots of dots and dashes with our white gel pen. So this is the Milky Pop gel pen. This is my personal favorite. I think the ink always comes out really nicely whenever I've used this. You always want to store your gel pen with the ink downward so that you don't get any bubbles in the pen stem here. So I'm gonna take and add, let's start here. A lot of times I will do small circles with my gel pen to get it kind of activated, and then once the ink is flowing, you shouldn't have to spend as much time in each particular area. I can even come in a little bit closer. You can see those dots that I'm laying down on this largest spokes of the largest snowflake. And it's kind of relaxing, actually, to just dot it up. I'm gonna wipe off some of that glitter. So normally if I had allowed my paste to dry, I would have already wiped this with my microfiber cloth or Swiffer duster to get that excess glitter off so that I'm not getting it onto my pen nibs. So I'm just kind of wiping it away on the areas that I'm dotting. It's the only bad thing about paste. Maybe I need to come up with an instant dry paste, kind of like, you know, the Sally Hansen nail polish, the clear coat that goes over the top. It's like instant dry. All right, so there's what one snowflake could look like. Now, let's try something else. Let's go here. We'll just do one little dot, a little bit bigger dot in each of these. You could do a little dash. Sometimes I like to see what like a little circle would look like here. Do another dash over here. So really there's no huge rhyme or reason for adding whatever you're adding. Just experiment with it. Do a couple of dots down here. You could even put little dots in the middle of our darkest snowflakes, but actually I'm going to put something else there. Another embellishment that we can add to this particular design. You could do rhinestones. That's not the embellishment that I'll be adding. Okay, well, I think I got enough on here. Maybe up here needs just something little to at least move on. And you could do this on all the panels, or like I said, you don't have to do it on any of them. If you don't want to take the time to do the dots and the dashes, it looks beautiful the way that it is. Another question on the colors that were used. So I use, let me zoom out here just a little bit and I'll actually bring them back in screen. So if you guys want to take a screenshot, the first layer was blue raspberry with a little bit of poblano pepper. And then the next layer was spearmint. And the final layer was blueberry. The third layer, I should say, was blueberry. And then the final layer was the fresh snow paste. So I'll get out of the screen here, and if you guys want to take a screenshot of that, now is your chance. And then you can remember that color combo for later. It was a pretty one. Kind of some fun and different blues that I wouldn't normally have put together. We have blues and teals, mixing those together. So after I did this part, I thought, well, what should we do for sentiments? And I have been into foiling all the things lately. And so I grabbed our Foil It Winter Blessings, and this is a stamp set that we released. Let me grab it really quick. All right, so this is the stamp set that we released last Christmas, or I guess it wasn't Christmas, it was in December with these quad stencils. This is the Winter Blessings stamp set, and then it has coordinating dies that go with it. And then this year, we brought out a coordinating Foil It pack. So it's called Foil It Winter Blessings, and it has the same sentiments that are printed with toner, and then you can foil them. And I thought a foiled sentiment just adds so much, a little bit of professionalism and kind of wow effect when your recipient takes that card and sees that it shines in the light. So I already pre-foiled and die cut these. I decided to use a different colored foil. So actually my colored foils seem to be a little neglected lately, so I was really happy to find this one in my collection. It goes great with the teals that I used in the background. It's aqua is the color of the foil that I used, and you can see that it's super pretty. Of course, I would choose something teal, right? All right. Now, we are going to decide what sentiments we want on each of these. So if I turn this direction, you can see there's one large snowflake that's kind of center or towards the bottom right of this panel. I like the idea of covering up a little bit of this all over pattern with a little bit of vellum. So I am going to pop that vellum circle right over that snowflake, and I think we'll use, maybe we should go with Let It Snow. I think that's a perfect one. Let It Snow, or if we wanted to, Thanks Snow Much is another good option. I like Thanks Snow Much. I always need thank you cards, and having those for the winter season will be perfect. So that's going to be our first design. Not sure I have actual adhesives here to complete these, but you get the idea. So the next one, this one. With a lot of our quad stencils, you'll find that they're not just all over patterns. So we've thought about the layout of the card for you, and this particular one gives you a pattern at a diagonal, which leaves an open space perfect for a sentiment at the bottom right. Or of course, if you wanted to, you could turn it this way and you could position your sentiment here, or you could turn it this way and your sentiment could go here. So there's lots of different options, but those open spaces that you often see on the quads are designed as an eye-pleasing place for your sentiment to land. So let's say we want to do, how about Hello Winter? That's what we're doing today. We're saying Hello Winter. Hello Winter can go right down here, kind of partially overlapping. I always like to touch a little bit of the pattern with the sentiment. Now if you move it down here, you see how that just looks a little bit different. I like it to draw your eye to the center, just slightly overlap that pattern. Now you could use another vellum circle if you wanted to add more connection between those two, and you could even place it somewhere like that. Is another option. I'll leave that there. I kind of like that. I'm liking what the vellum looks like on the toffee cardstock. So, okay, let's move to this one, the pretty dark snowflake. Now this one on layer 3, it doesn't have any of the blue in it, and so I think it would be nice to add a little bit of the blue detail, but I'm gonna have to do that with a marker, and we're gonna come in and I'm just gonna add a few little flicks with my Copic to incorporate that darker color into this piece. And there is always, well, maybe not always, but most people have a comfortable direction for their flicking. So figure out what that is for you. And then turn your paper so that you're always flicking in the same direction. And your flicking will be more consistent and end up looking nicer as well. 2 more. I'm also trying to avoid putting my hand in the wet paste, but I think it's mostly dry at this point. All right, so there's what that looks like when you add a few little pieces of dimension with the marker. And I think I'm gonna do warm wishes. Now, another spot that's great for a sentiment is right here in the center. This one says burr. So right in the center of that snowflake, you could do something like that as well. I'm kind of liking the warm wishes down in the corner here. So I'm not covering up the pretty details that I just added. So yes, Candy, the color for the marker, Kimberly's right, B37. And that was to go with the blueberry ink. And then let's pull in our last panel. This one has that opening in the center for that sentiment, and I like the idea again of using one of those vellum circles to kind of connect to the top and the bottom connect your eye to the top and the bottom. And then let's see what Let It Snow looks like. Sometimes I pop one on there and I think, oh, maybe that's a little bit small. Should I try this one? That one hangs off the edges and fills this middle space a little bit better. So I think I like Winter Blessings best. All right. Linda says, I'm confused where to buy the foil words or how to make them. Well, I can show you how to make them because I have lots of time. Maybe if Whitney's listening, she can run back in here and grab my Mink machine off of the table. But I did those ahead of time, but I'm happy to just show you how that happens. So you have these pieces that I shared earlier. These are our Foilet Winter Blessings, and they are printed in toner. Now the toner the foil that you purchase will stick to the toner. The number one thing that I see when people are having problems with our toner foilet sheets, you're using the wrong foil. So this is the foil that we sell, and it is a foil, it's a transfer sheet, so it is for heat foiling. Hot foiling is something different. The words are kind of very much the same, but hot foiling is something that you do with the Spellbinder's Glimmer machine. But this is done with either a Mink machine or a laminator. So you take that foil and we're going to cut it down. Can you turn on the Mink for me?
Yes.
And
warm it up.
Warm it up.
To a 4 or 5?
Let's go with a 5.
Okay.
And then Whitney's going to bring that machine over here. Does it stretch over here?
If not, I can move.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Okay. It does not quite stretch. I promise we'll get this figured out. Okay, so I've cut a little bit of that foil to fit over the panel. And then we're going to take our carrier sheet.
I have one right here for you.
Perfect.
Here's your carrier sheet.
So this comes with the Mink machine. It's a plastic carrier. I know people have damaged these in the past. If you put your folder through at an angle or it gets kind of crunched inside, you can toss this aside. It is not a necessity to have this exact piece. You can always use just a piece of parchment paper. And then I have a cardstock shim in the middle of this plastic folder just to give me some stability and maybe just a little bit of extra pressure. Then we're going to take our foilet panel next with the foil words facing up, and then the pretty side of the foil should always face up. We're going to place that over the top so that it's completely covering all of the words. Now, one important thing, you want to make sure you don't have any foil hanging off the edges of your cardstock because it will adhere to the plastic folder And especially if it goes through your machine hanging outside of the folder, that would not be a good thing. So we cannot quite get the mink over here into the camera, but it is at a heat setting of 5, and I'm going to take and just push this through, and there are rollers in there that grab the carrier sheet from me. It takes, I don't know, maybe 20 seconds or so to get all the way through. And then the foil peel reveal is the best. Yes, Tiffany asked if I'm using the cardstock shim. So that's what that gray piece of paper is. And she said that's a good tip too, that it usually helps reduce the wrinkles in your foil as well. Charlie would be happy to give you the link to the Mink machine. We sell the mini Mink at the Tailored Expressions web store. It's perfect for card makers. The size is, as you see here, it fits a 6x6 carrier folder through it, and so perfect for normal card making size. All right. I always foil it first and then cut it. I don't think that it really makes truly a difference with the sentiments. So if you wanted to just cut the one that you want to use and then send it through, you could do that. However, if you're using any of our foilets that coordinate with stencils, my recommendation is always to foil first and then do your blending over the top. So you can see how pretty those turned out as I get them reflected in the light here with that aqua colored foil. Now, Linda was asking if I could please show how to cut them all at the same time. And actually, you're in luck. You don't have to watch me do this because I did this earlier. I taped together, or I die cut all of these sentiments as you saw that I used on the cards that we put together. Now, if you want to cut these all, every single panel would match up with the panel before it because we printed them in these exact places. So you can use this arrangement of dies to then lay down and cut your next layer. Now, one of the ways to do that, once you have them done one time, you can take many pieces of a tape that is maybe a little bit more tacky than just your normal washi tape or removable tape, and actually tape these dies together. So you can see I'm overlapping the actual metal of the dies, and then I'm going to peel them off of my cardstock as one piece. And this is a great tip for mass producing because then you don't have to set up those dies every single time you want to cut these out. Hopefully this is what you had in mind, Linda, when you were asking me to show this tip. All right. I think I have most of them connected. Now, I would say never too much tape. If you don't want these to come apart and you want to be able to use it multiple times as one piece, then just really get them adhered together. But you also don't want to cover up the openings of the words because you need those in order to line up your sentiments. So now that I have that connected together, we can pull it off of this paper carefully because I want everything to stay where it's at. And if you have any places that are just a little bit flimsy, thank you, I need words today, then you can grab some more tape and get it pasted together. So basically we've created our own single piece of die. So this is all connected together, and then these can be lined up over the top of your foiled sentiments. Kind of got to hang on to it above your paper before you're ready to set it down because it wants to All right, I've got that bottom part in place here. My top part is falling into place. I think I feel pretty good about this. This Hello Winter down here might have gotten shifted just a touch as I was doing this. Okay. So now we can place this entire piece through our die cut machine and die cut all of those sentiments out at the same time. I've got my die cut machine here. Whitney's grabbing it for me. Susan asked, why not just leave it in the paper? And you can do that as well. It kind of depends on the tension of your die cut machine. If your machine will go through a couple layers of paper, then that's a great option to just take it from one sheet, place it over the top of the second sheet, and you might have to run it back and forth maybe more than once to get it to cut through. Essentially, it's not cutting through 2 layers of cardstock, but there are 2 layers of cardstock placed together. So then you can just pop those out. And you've got your die cut sentiments. Awesome. Yes, looks like some of you do that already and you kind of nailed it and said you can just cut fine with 2 passes. That's what Farley says. So you can leave it on the paper and line it up. Let me show you. That would just eliminate all of this. You still need your removable tape or whatever you use to tack the dies down to the paper before you die cut them. But then that eliminates the purple tape need. All right, trying not to. All right, so then we can poke these out and just leave them on the paper like I had them. Line them up with your next piece of paper like this, and then send it through your die cut machine. Now this way is kind of nice too because the paper is exactly the same size. So really you're just getting the paper in place with the sheet on top of it. And as long as you have the sides all the same, then your dies should be falling in the right spot. Hooray! Okay. Yes, you're welcome, Linda. Hopefully that was a helpful refresher on another little tip for mass producing. And I have now shoved all of my semi-finished cards off to the side, so I'll bring back a few of them. Hopefully the little tips and tricks on how to place your sentiments in an eye-pleasing way or how to choose which sentiment might go best with each of the different panels. Hopefully that was helpful too. Didn't I decide I liked Winter Blessings, I think, with that one. And then we did Warm Wishes on this one. So there they are, the 4 Snowflake quad panels. All right, let's say farewell for today. I hope this is the last time that you see this particular backdrop because that means that everything went just as it was supposed to, with the shelving we're waiting to come in and then the zhuzhing of our shelves. So hopefully next week, right before Thanksgiving, you guys can see our new setup for the first time. So thank you for joining in today. And again, the season of crafting is happening. So make sure you either get over to the Tailored Expressions web store and check out the calendar of events. It's under Connect with Us Season of Crafting 2022. And there are daily deals every day leading up to Thanksgiving. And then we will launch our fun Black Friday happenings at the end of the day on Thursday. So good luck with all of your preparations. Wish me good luck too. I'll see you one more time before Turkey Day. Oh, and Susan's going to be here on Thursday. I forgot to say that, which means this will probably be the backdrop you'll see on Thursday. So never mind all of that about the last time you see this. So Susan will be here at 10 a.m. on Thursday to share another project with you. So have a great couple of days, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.